Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Carrie's Gardening Channel. So today is July 26th, 2019, and I'm out in the garden today, and I wanted to talk to you about growing birdhouse gourds. So this is what birdhouse gourds look like. And this one here is still growing. And here's some more over in here. Now, your birdhouse gourds, they bloom, they start opening like in the late afternoon, closer to nightfall. These are still open this morning, and then the blooms will close up on them as the day goes. So, a lot of the pollination that are done on these is actually done at night by moths. And I'll show you here what the flowers look like. This is what the flowers look like here. And this is a male flower here. You can tell because it doesn't have the little bottle gourd on the back of the end of it. So here's one that was probably opened a few days ago or possibly last night. And this is a female flower here, and you can tell because it has the little gourd on the end of it. Now, these do have gourds hanging on them, which I will show you. But you can see how far they trail and how much they go. Now, these had compost added to the soil when they were planted, and they're just growing away carefree. And we do redirect the vines. We want them to climb the fence and the wire there, so they're not going out all through the garden. So I have some that I have to put back up on the fence, and you can just see they're just going. That one actually went to the end of the fence, and now we're going to have to start directing it down this way. So it continues to grow the fence because they will get intertangled with your other plants, and they will also like wrap around your other plants. So it's just a really good idea to have something for them to climb, and it also helps keep the gourds off the ground, which helps prevent rotting of the gourd. So I recommend putting them on like a fence or a trellis or something like that. Now this is about, I think, like maybe 4 plants here. I'm not 100% sure. A lot of them I started in the greenhouse and then transplanted them out, and then some of them I just put the seeds in the ground and they germinated on their own, and they all pretty much actually caught up with each other. So we do have the gourds hanging on, and I don't know if you can see. Back in there, it's a little too dark back there to see the gourd hanging on. But we do have gourds hanging on. They are growing very well. They're not getting any care, with the exception of picking these here back up and putting them back on the fence to direct them where we want them to grow at. Now, birdhouse gourds are actually in a family of their own. So the reason why I have them growing out in the garden is because they're not going to cross with my squash, and they're not going to cross with our heirloom crookneck pumpkins. So I'll have the name for the family that they're in on the video. Now, most of your birdhouse gourds, your bottle gourds, and I think the bushel basket gourd, they're in a family altogether, and they're in a different family than your squash and your pumpkins. So these are out in the garden because they won't cross with our heirloom crookneck pumpkins that we grow. And you do have to watch on some of the gourds for what family they're in with if you want to save seeds like off of your squash and stuff, because they will cross. Your Tennessee dancing gourds or your Tennessee spinning gourds, they will cross with your squash. So they're not out here in the garden, they're elsewhere growing. But the birdhouse gourds, they're in a different family. So what you actually do with these, your birdhouse gourds, are, you can make birdhouses out of them after you've dried them. Now, these will be harvested before a frost comes, and we'll hang them to dry. And you have to make sure like that they're not rotting or something like that, because sometimes not all of them make it over the drying period because they'll rot or something like that, especially if you have like a really wet year. So these will be cut, which I'll do a video on that before a frost hits, and I'll show you how to harvest them then, and how to hang them to dry. And after they're dried, then people cut them open, or they cut like a little hole in them and they make a birdhouse out of it. The thing that you have to watch with that is you have to be careful of gourd fever. And what gourd fever is it something when you cut them open that the gourds have in them that can make you very sick. So they recommend, like, if you're going to cut them open, that you wear protective like breathing to keep the dust from getting in to your body, and that you wear like gloves, and you wear protective eye stuff while you're cutting them open. So that's something that you do have to watch out for. Now, people do paint these up. They make little kind of like gourd things out of them, and I have painted gourds already. That was a fun project to do. And then you spray shellac over it to keep the paint from coming off. And I have some that I've had for probably like 4 or 5 years now that I've painted, and they're still okay, they're still good. And some actually make baskets out of them, the different gourds, or they use them for household decorations. You can do wood burnings on them. I've never done a wood burning on them. Now, they do have to be cleaned. The outside shell of the gourd, after it's dried, has to be cleaned for you to do like your wood burnings and your paintings and stuff. Now, I've never done the wood burnings on the gourds. I've done them on wood already, and they're really neat when you're done with them and they come out. It's a really neat thing to do on wood, is a wood burning. So maybe I'll try it on some gourds after they've dried. I don't know yet. I'll have to see how many of them dry and figure out my plan for them then. This is the back side here of the gourds, and I was trying to get a picture of the gourds hanging on themselves, but they're kind of buried under the leaves, so it's hard to get them because they're in the shade and the camera just won't pick it up. But you can see there's one there that's just starting to grow. And your gourds like moist soil, but they also like well-drained soil. So you want to keep that in mind when you're planting them, and you also want to keep in mind how large the plants can get, so that you don't have an issue with them colliding with everything else. So if you like my video, please like, comment, subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the little notification button. I'll tell you when I put a new video on. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!